This is Kelly Davis, your host of the Untold Miracles podcast, and today we have an amazing guest on the show. She was one of 63,000 contestants who tried out for season 16 of The Voice, and after wowing America with her magical voice, according to John Legend, she was voted the winner on May 22nd. I love her song, Wait For You. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Miss Maelyn Jarmon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so honored and happy to have you here today. I'm a big fan of your music, but I'm really a big fan of your heart, because today we are in St. Louis for Children's Miracle Network Hospital's Dance Marathon Leadership Conference. We have 1,000 students from all over the country that are here to help raise money for their local children's hospital.
Incredible.
And you are here to support that. And
Absolutely.
I want to know why you wanted to be here today.
Well, I grew up in and out of hospitals. I had ear infections when I was 2 years old, well, from birth, and then I had tubes put in my ears when I was 2. And I had so many reconstructive surgeries, and I was in and out of hospitals. So I have a soft spot for those kids who spend a lot of their lives before they're even 8 years old in a hospital bed. I just wanted to come and be a part of it and spread joy and music to, these kids.
Well, we appreciate it so much. And it's interesting. This started at such a young age for you. You were 2 years old.
Yeah.
When do you remember being at an age where you noticed that your hearing wasn't like the other kids and your life experience was different than the other kids because you were having these hospital experiences?
Because I was so young, I think that I got used to not being able to hear out of one ear. That felt very normal for me. Through the surgeries, I think it was the recovery time and the pain that was the worst part of growing up, and how I always had earaches. I couldn't go underwater. I couldn't go swimming like other kids could. Actually, when I started noticing a hearing problem, because I started also losing the hearing in my other ear, and it's everyday life. It's talking. I have to stand on a specific side of somebody, or when we're walking down the street. Yeah. But the only time I ever felt whole and like it was not a disability was through music, because music is all about vibrations and it's more about feeling. And I think also because I have music in my family as something that I think is just ingrained in me and in my person, I did have that advantage. But I also think that it was a way for me to feel normal. And I would get on a stage and I didn't have any problem hearing and didn't feel that disability.
Well, I love that you have said that your hearing loss or your deafness is one of your superpowers, which I think is so incredible. And I would love for you to share that, because I truly think it's a miracle that you have the unbelievable voice that you do with complete hearing loss in your right ear and hearing loss in your left ear.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I was very lucky to have parents who never treated it like a disability. It was very much just, a part of who I was. And I do believe it's a superpower because, you see singers plug one of their ears to hear themselves. Yeah. I kind of feel like that's what I'm doing all the time. But also, I think I just have a different relationship to music because I go based off of how it feels, and I think that's very different. And there was a time during the show when my in-ears went out, and I'd never worked with in-ears before, and that was a huge struggle for me. That none of the other contestants, they were like, "Oh my gosh, these are amazing," and I'm like, "I can't hear. This is weird for me," because I go off of the vibrations of the room, and I had never had it to where it was just like sucked into my ears. So that was a struggle for me. And then
How did you get through that?
Well, it was going from generics, like we start out with generics, and then if you make it further, you get custom molds, and they're so much better, and that really helped me. But the week that I did stay, my in-ears broke. Of course, I had laryngitis because something was out to get me that week, and they gave me generics for my performance, and my generics went out halfway through. But because I am a singer I have often been in a situation where I can't hear, so I go based off of how it feels, and I can find the pitch, how my voice vibrates with the music, and I can usually find if I'm off pitch or not. So I was able to kind of check in that moment, and I was like, well, that's really cool for me to have that moment of, this could happen later on in my career, and this isn't a hindrance. What I have is a superpower in a lot of ways, and I think that a lot of kids who have disabilities, I think if you start with a good mentality, and your parents are saying that it's more of something that is one of the challenges that was put into your life, and that whenever you have successes, they're that much sweeter because you had to struggle for them. It becomes a sense of pride, a point of pride.
I love that so much. I know a little girl named Yonk, and her parents have a saying that says, "Don't diss my ability."
Yes.
And that really is, people may look at it as a disability. I know one of my miracle kids lost one leg when he was 11. Now he's 33, and he's inspiring the world with his comedy. He's an author, Paralympian, YouTuber, and he's never let that hold him back.
It's
and
incredible.
it really has been a superpower for him. And I love that you've used that the same. Well, I want to know how old you were when you started having this dream for music, and when maybe your parents noticed, hey, our daughter can sing.
Oh, I was very, very young. My dad's a musician. He's a guitarist, and he also has a really great voice. He doesn't sing much, but when he does, I love his voice. So I grew up singing with him, and we would do like little house shows for my family, like in the living room. And then I started in musical theater. But I guess, I think they noticed that I had a knack for it, and that I was talented probably when I was around like 11 or so. But I didn't start getting like serious about it until I was around 13, and I joined an adult theater company, and I did a lot of musical theater, and I actually competed in classical music.
Oh, wow.
I know. And it was a very short amount of time, and it was funny because I didn't love it necessarily, but my voice coach was very...
I was going to say, how did this happen?
Yeah, no, my mom was given advice that you shouldn't put your child into voice lessons until they're 13, because their voice needs to mature a little bit before they're, have that much strain on their cords. So I started when I was 13, and he was already very involved with having pianists go and compete, and then he had me as a vocalist. So I went on to state and regional, and I ended up going to nationals. And because I kept winning, I think that's why and everybody's like, it's great, you should do it. And my heart really wasn't in it, but it was, it helped with my voice today. And I'm sure you can still hear it. There are times when it comes through, but breath control and things like that. But I ended up going to New York thinking I was going to do musical theater. Right. I had looked at Juilliard, and I was like, maybe classical is something I should do. And I met with somebody, and she was like, you know what? No, you need to do musical theater or something in that realm. And as much as I loved the theater experience, I felt this odd competitiveness, especially between female, and it was hard for me. I didn't love that kind of competitive negativity and how it has a way of putting you in a box. Right. So I decided I wanted to create music, and I had a residency where I played 3 hours every Wednesday night, and I did not know any covers when I started. And I had to fill 3 hours.
Where was this?
This was at Toshi's living room. I don't even know if it's
amazing.
I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. It might just be like the Flatiron. It's in the Flatiron area in New York. But I started with not knowing anything. My dad, so he's an amazing guitarist, but he didn't end up going that route. And it's really hard to be a musician. It's a lot of struggle. And he has been so supportive through all of this, and both my parents moved out to New York and helped me for a while, and so I wanted to kind of give back to him, and I had him come be my guitarist for that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and
so every Wednesday night you guys were doing a 3-hour set together?
Yes, together.
Oh, that's incredible.
Me and my dad.
I love that.
Yeah.
And now you do sets with your fiance.
Yes. Well, they both actually still play.
Oh, they do?
Me. Yes. My dad plays guitar, and my fiance plays piano for me. I know. Yeah. So it's been quite a journey, and even though musical theater is still in show business, it felt like switching to just being an artist was like a totally different realm. So I kind of had to start from scratch, and I kind of had to find my footing, and so it took a while. And I think I had some really severe ups and downs, and especially in New York, it's like a super difficult city. It'll eat you up, and I definitely had my moments. And actually, when The Voice reached out to me, was one of my lowest points there, and I was thinking about moving home and kind of I knew I was still going to do music. I didn't know in what way. But they invited me out for a private audition, and I thought, you know what? What do I have to lose? And I think that the biggest thing would be not knowing what would have happened. I would have, that would have eaten at me. So I went out.
Well, I have a couple questions around that. So what was your mindset at that time? Were you feeling like you were ready to quit? Or what was happening that was making it so difficult at that time?
At that time, I was working as a waitress, and I needed to pay rent in a very expensive place, which I had like a very small room in a small apartment where there's roaches and loud neighbors, and it's $1,200 a month for your little tiny room. And as a waiter, there are ups and downs in as far as busy times. So there were months where I was able to do music and be a waitress because it was a busier time of year and I could work fewer days a week. But then at this time it was winter and I had to work basically 6 to 7 days a week in order to make ends meet. And I wasn't making music. And I at that time, my boyfriend and I have been my fiance and I were on and off for about 5 years, and we were off at that point. And there was nothing really holding me there, and it was cold, and I was very tired of the cold, and seasonal depression is real.
Yes,
and I wasn't doing what I loved, and I knew I needed to be home, that I wanted to go home, and maybe I didn't know if that meant that I would eventually go out to LA or if that meant I was going to be a teacher. I did think about that, and because in New York, I worked several jobs, as most do, but I worked as, I played for kids' birthday parties, and I wrote kids' songs, and I loved that. And I thought, maybe I have a knack for that, and that's something I could do as well. So I knew it was going to be music, but I didn't know in what way.
So how was it that The Voice reached out to you? Were there any miracles behind that happening?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I hadn't posted a lot of like me singing on Instagram, and my now fiance, then boyfriend, and I broke up, and I was very upset, and I was cleaning, and I like pulled stuff out from underneath my bed, and I was writing a song about him while I was cleaning out from underneath my bed, and I decided to tape it, and I put it on Instagram, and a week later, someone reached out to me who had seen that video.
What had made you post when you hadn't been posting in the past?
I think I wanted him to see it.
This song wasn't Wait For You, was it?
No.
Okay, all right.
Definitely not. This was more like, it said, basically, tell me to leave because I can't do it on my own. I need you to help me leave. Yeah.
So you get this call, you go out, you do an audition, but before that, I want to go back to your connection with songwriting. I read that you like to connect with the human experience and share that.
Yeah.
And because that's what music is about. It's
Absolutely.
about connection. But you also said it was very healing. I want to know when music was the most healing moment in your life.
I mean, it's been off and on. It's definitely been in relationships. It's been my relationship with not just, boyfriend relationships, but my relationship with New York and my relationship with music. And I sometimes don't know how I'm feeling until I sit down at a piano and things start to pour out. And sometimes I can't even decipher what these words mean until later. I'm like, wow, that is what I meant. But I think that people need to write in those moments when they feel the most alone, because a lot of people don't know that they're not alone in feeling that way. And I know for me, I listened to a lot of music that made me feel not alone, and that's my biggest connection to music, and specifically writers like Sarah Bareilles and Joni Mitchell, and people like that, very strong females. That is something I'm very obviously drawn towards. I do think that it is, and I think most songwriters will tell you this, it's like your personal therapy, sitting down and writing a song. And then I've had people come up to me at gigs and after The Voice, and even if it's not my song and I've interpreted it a certain way, to have people come up and say that it meant something to them is incredible. And it is why I do what I do, and is what drew me to certain people. And so to be able, I just know that this is like complete honor, and to have been, voted into this space that I am in right now, I just know that I have a responsibility to people, and I take this very seriously.
I also read that you didn't have any expectations when you went on the show. So let's go back to that blind audition when all 4 judges turned their chair and you blew everyone away. What was that moment like, and how were you able to just stay present and be in that moment?
I think because of all of my experience in show business and New York City, and I think also this time in my life and the age that I'm at, I'm more secure in who I am as a person. And, while I was there, you're surrounded by so much talent. And we were in rooms with so many singers who were incredible. I mean, everybody there was amazing. There was a reason they were there. So I wasn't worried about being more amazing than them necessarily. I was just... I wanted to show what I could do, and if it wasn't what they wanted, that's fine, because I'm going to continue doing what I do. And I kept telling myself that this doesn't define what's going to happen after this. But I remember thinking before I got up for my blind audition, I was the last of the first day. And
that's always fun.
Yeah. Everybody was exhausted. Right. And I was like, oh man, everybody's tired. Yeah. They're going to be let's just get this over with. But, before I went out there, I said, this is my time. And these 4 coaches, even though they are established artists, they like to be a part of an audience as much as anybody else. So I just wanted to, tell the story of what Fields of Gold meant to me. And, I think that I was so much more focused on what I was saying rather than... how it was really being presented. And I think I was also so tired by that point that my body wasn't reacting the way it normally does. I remember looking at the back of their chairs and I was like, this is real, this is happening, but my body wasn't doing anything. It was just so relaxed, and I was like, why is my heart not racing right now? It was I think adrenaline kicked in, and it was like, you just gotta do this.
Hi, I'm Audrey, 2019 National Champion for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Kids like me deserve every chance to heal. At your local CMN hospital, they get the best hope for a miracle by getting the best possible care. Every day, CMN hospitals are giving kids like me the chance to talk, walk, smile, and laugh again, to get better and get back to being kids. And you can help too. Give now at childrensmiraclenetworkhospitals.org and put your money where the miracles are. Thank you.
She was one of 63,000 contestants who tried out for season 16 of The Voice, and after wowing America with her magical voice, according to John Legend, she was voted the winner on May 22nd. I love her song, Wait For You. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Miss Maelyn Jarmon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you knew beforehand that you were going to pick Coach John Legend as your mentor?
If he turned, I knew I wanted him just because... his songwriting is he's such a storyteller, and he has this beautiful, almost croony voice. It's like he's been able to do so much with his career and in music, and he does so much as a person as well. And I love how, he has this beautiful family life as well. And he's just got this knowledge of music that I really wanted to breathe his air for a little bit. And I also figured, because he was the newer coach, that he'd be fresh and he'd be excited. And I remember looking at an interview before I went, and he was talking about how he loves to mentor. And that was something that really excited me because, I love Blake and Adam, but I feel like at this point they've been there so long that you don't know how they're going to get excited, and they probably heard it all, but for John, he was a newbie.
What was the biggest lesson that John taught you, both life lesson and lesson for your career?
It was funny because it was I learned a lot from him, from his demeanor, and just not necessarily like advice that he gave straight towards me, but just the way he treated me. He treated me very much like an equal, and I mean, it was incredible. And he really taught me to trust myself because, I think that a lot of artists question themselves, and I question myself all the time. And for him to have such faith in my choices and in me as a performer and a singer, that was incredible. And I think that he's got this respect for other artists and women. And I learned that, it can be this wonderful experience. I think that, I've had some experiences, like in New York, I worked with a producer who took advantage of me kind of, and ended up not giving me a product and kind of, ran me through it.
Unfortunately is very common in the music
so
industry,
common.
Right?
And I had a few studio experiences where I went in and it was full of men who laughed at my whatever I was saying, and it was my music, and I felt so small. And I found myself questioning myself even more because of that.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 20, and it really affected me. And just for John Legend to be that way and to be at his caliber, and it just gave me this like new sense of faith in what if I choose to work with the right people, I can have this career that is also has this base of humanity and morality, and it can make art and also be surrounded by people that are great humans.
I know you said you didn't have any expectations, but did you ever allow your mind to go to the place that what if I did win? And
Totally.
what happened there when you thought about that?
I had to think about it a little bit because I wanted to make sure that I was ready for that. And that I also knew that winning wasn't everything, and that there was still so much work to happen after the fact. And that if that did happen, I needed to hit the ground running. But also, I'm definitely the kind of person who like hopes for the best but plans for the worst. And my mom will tell you that. But I didn't let myself think about it too much as far as like how amazing would it feel, and like that it would be super vindicating, because or validating.
Right.
I didn't want it to have that pressure on it. That was going to be a bonus. I went after every week thinking about how I wanted to give performances that I was really proud of, and that if I was,
which you did. Every single one.
That's so nice. Thank you.
And people can listen like to your music for sure. What I was listening to yesterday on the plane was just the Maelyn Spotify channel.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just your music over and over and over and over. And people should buy your music.
That's
but
so
anyway,
nice.
it's amazing. Definitely you should go check out her playlist.
Wow. Thank you. It wouldn't have mattered if I was voted off if I felt really good about my performance. That was the main thing for me. And, to work with John Legend up close and to, that was like, everything else was a bonus after those 4 chair turns.
I'm assuming one of your favorite moments of the show was when you won. But was there another moment throughout the whole experience that just really stands out as I will always remember this?
Yeah. After my top 24 performance, it was the first time that I was able to kind of have a time with John Legend that was off camera. And that was really cool. I went to his trailer and we were talking about what song I should do the next week. And we were going through songs, and it was just us sitting with his computer. I'll never forget looking at him and being like, he's just so real. And like, this is so neat to like have this one-on-one time with him and to just be like singing through songs and be chilling. But I think also after that, we got on a phone call about my top 8 performance. I had thrown some things out there. We couldn't decide on something, and he he said, well, what about Stay by Brianna? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I think that's like maybe a little too pop for me. I'm not sure about that one. He was like, no, I think it's going to be great. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to be for my voice. And he was like, you can do it. And I was like, wow, okay, sure. If John Legend has faith in my voice, I should have faith in my voice. But that was a cool moment for him to have gotten to know my voice well enough to make choices and be like, no, you can totally do this.
Now, is it something that he picks the song every week?
No.
You guys get to collaborate and decide what the best song is for your...
It's different for every coach, and it's different for every week.
Okay.
Most of the time with John, it was a collaboration. We had to decide. He had to okay it. I had to okay it, and it felt very collaborative, which was really cool. And I'm not sure how the other coaches do things. I know that a lot of Blake's team got to pick their own songs, basically, but John was definitely very like he was very hands-on, which was great, because I think a lot of people that go on the show, it's a lot of people that don't have a ton of experience and maybe don't know what songs would be great for their voices. So to have somebody like John Legend give you a song that you didn't think you could do, it opens up your artistry. So
I love that so much, because so many times I think we ourselves put ourselves in this box, right?
Yes.
This is what we're capable. We don't think that we can do that little bit extra until that one person believes in us. And then what if John would have not said Stay? That would have been the saddest thing ever, because you killed that performance.
Thanks.
I've listened to it over and over, and it's so amazing, but it's just so interesting that there was a moment of doubt in you.
Oh, yeah.
And that you were able to, thanks to some amazing mentorship from John, you were able to push through that and give a performance of your life.
I could not be more grateful for my experience on The Voice, because it surprised me because I had confidence as a performer, but that just brought it to a different level of, I used to get a little nervous at my shows in New York, and I didn't get as nervous for these performances. And I think now I've got this new sense of self, and it's not even that's like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. It's more that I'm just secure in what I have to offer, and that I'm also secure in the fact that I'll always be learning.
Yeah. Well, I also love the fact that you had a dream, you moved to New York to pursue your dream, and you were being built every hard week, and things not going well. You kept pushing through. Like, this didn't just happen. You earned this. You worked for this.
Well, thank you.
And
for
you were
saying
ready
that.
for this.
Well, I think that was one of my biggest risks for doing this show, and what I thought about before I did the show is I was like, I don't want anybody to ever question that I worked for this or that I didn't work for this, because it does seem like kind of like an overnight thing.
What people don't know, huh?
Yeah, I know, exactly. And I worried about that, but I have worked really hard, and I faced setbacks and things like that, but that show was also way harder than people think it is. And the crew is amazing, and they make it as easy as they can on you, it was an incredible experience, I think, different from what people expect, because you hear a lot of, things like, oh, you're treated like cattle more so than a person, and
right.
You're a number.
Right.
And they did not. They were incredible to me, and I had a wonderful team of people who, hair, makeup, wardrobe. I loved all of them, loved all my producers. I loved every week getting to work with everybody, and, they want you to take care of yourself, and they really want the best for you. They want you to succeed. I think it's all about mentality, though. People go in there and they may not have the right mindset, and they're expecting something out of it that, it's very different from behind the curtain than it. And I think people get jarred by that.
Well, I think what people don't know is that once you step off that stage until the next week, it's 24/7.
Yes.
Like, there is no break.
No.
You bust your butt the entire week, but people don't see that. They only see the lights and the costumes, and they hear this amazing voice, but they don't know and understand. And we are so blessed to be on that end and not have to be in your shoes, because you're the one doing the work. But I do appreciate you saying that, because our dreams don't necessarily come easy.
No, it's a lot it's hard work. And, there's actually a day, it was finale week, and it was the Friday before the finale. And my schedule was a satellite media tour in the morning from
Probably
6 to 8.
Okay.
Yes.
Like
6
super
to 8
early
a.m.
to get all the East Coast
Yes,
stations. Yep.
absolutely. And then I had to go to a doctor's appointment because I had to have my laryngitis and my sinus infection checked. Straight from there to a rehearsal with John Legend to sing Unforgettable 3 times through on the stage. And then we went to a different location, and I had not done my original song yet at this point. And I had my first rehearsal with it on camera, and we did that rehearsal, and then I recorded Unforgettable with John Legend, recorded Hallelujah, and then went to a different studio to record Wait For You, all in the same day. And I looked at that schedule before, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. But I did, and I remember being very proud that day, and I didn't know that my voice could handle all that. And so, I mean, I will always be grateful to The Voice for giving me that kind of experience.
What do you think is the biggest life lesson that The Voice taught you and that experience taught you that you will carry with you for the rest of your life?
I mean, I think that the biggest thing is, it's not a party. Everybody thinks that being an artist is like a constant party, but it is going to bed at 8 p.m. and drinking a crazy amount of water and vocal rest and constant cough drops and nasal sprays. And it's just, there's a lot of self-care that goes into this business. And I think that, also being genuine, I was able to stick to who I was. And there were times when I was like, I should try this and I should do it. And I was like, no, you know what? That's not who I am. That's not who I'm going to be after this. If it's not enough, then that's fine, because I just need to do what is genuinely, authentically me. So I think, it's cliche. A lot of people say that, but I think authenticity is something that's wanted these days, especially with how social media is, and just kind of how everything is, this day and age. And I think authenticity and being relatable is a huge thing.
So I love that you're an indie, alternative, pop artist. I think that's so great. And you just stay true to you. Okay, before we end, I have a couple quick fire questions. What has been the biggest miracle in your life?
I don't want to make it too much about The Voice, but it was a miracle for me in a way, because I didn't know I could handle something like that. And I wanted this so bad, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're meant for it, even if you want it. So I wasn't sure, and so it was a miracle for me to do that and to know that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, what is your favorite song of all time?
A Case of You by Joni Mitchell.
Okay, favorite artist of all time? Joni Mitchell?
Joni Mitchell.
Okay, favorite John Legend song?
Oh, I love Ordinary People, and every time All of Me comes on, it's just that one. I think that everybody loves that one, but I really do love All of Me.
Who else would be a dream collaboration?
Oddly enough, I think Hozier would be so cool and interesting. And also a weird one is James Blake. Because he's got this, he's got these beautiful soulful tones and really cool electronic stuff going on, which
I love him
could be
too.
interesting.
That would be amazing. I want to know what motto you like to live by.
I say this a lot, and I started saying it when I started the show, which is, don't try to be impressive, try to leave an impression.
That's so good. What's the best advice, since your mother is sitting in the room with us, beautiful Rebecca, what is the best advice that you've ever received from your mom?
Oh, I think the best advice I've ever received from her is actually towards other people, is that you never know what somebody's story is and what they're going through, and to always operate from a place of kindness and love.
What would the title of your book be if you were to write about the last 2 months of your life? What would the title of that book be?
It'd probably be like, what? Really? Are you sure? Legendary. No. I think it would be drink water.
Drink water and get lots of sleep. Be prepared to work.
Drink water and get sleep.
When I hear your music, I get chills. As all the judges said, you have a magical voice, and I think that you just truly have a talent that's so exceptional. You have the voice.
Thank you.
You do, and I think it's so amazing, and so grateful for the opportunity that I've had to talk to you today. We're so grateful for you to be involved with Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. As you know, we treat 10 million kids each year. We save kids' lives, and you're going to get to meet some of those kids tonight. And just the last question that I ask all of my guests, and a question for you is, if there were 3 miracles that you would create in the world today, what would that look like for you?
It would be worldwide acceptance of others and yourself. I would definitely love no more wars. Would love that. And people look at their disabilities as superpowers.
I'm going to be using that on the memes that we create from this episode, because that is so good. That is so good. Well, tell our listeners where they can follow you and what they can look forward to next.
Yes, you can follow me at Maelyn Music on all of the webs, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I update mostly on Instagram. But I will be opening for One Republic and The Fray on September 21st. I will be releasing music very soon. And I can't give too many details, but it's going to be exciting. And August 1st, I'll be singing the national anthem for the first preseason game, Hall of Fame induction.
In Canton?
Yes, in Canton, Ohio.
Well, good luck to you with everything.
Thank you.
We will be following and supporting your career, and we're so grateful just for the miracles that you create in this world. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a complete honor, and I'm so happy to be here.
Cool off with a root beer float while helping kids. Next week, Marriott International properties across the U.S. and Canada are hosting Root Beer Float Day float events. In exchange for a donation to your local CMN hospital, you can get a delicious root beer float to help you stay cool. Visit participating Marriott properties to get your root beer float next week. Thank you for helping kids.